I am playing Oxygen Not Included. I am playing Oxygen Not Included. I have not muted my stream. That's better. Goodness, my voice is grating. Imagine listening to that, it's horrible. Poor wife. Oh, what am I doing? My latrine is leaking. Latrine? Sump? Sump the right word? I feel like I should check that. A pit or reservoir serving as a drain or receptacle for liquids, such as a cesspool. Yep. Oh, it's the lowest point in a liquid drainage system. Yeah, this is definitely a sump. But it's leaking. Horrible. This game. So I keep staring at it with a headache. Don't know what's going on. I need to... This is hyper compressed, so it's breaking all the stone around it. So I need to drain it out. But the problem is it's infected. So if I just drain it out, it'll spread the infection everywhere. So what I need to do is build a set of... what am I trying to say? I need to build a set of plant pots. Yeah, farm tiles, hydroponic farm tiles, for it to drain into. I guess I should just do that. This game is so confusing. 3 or 2? Let's go 3. Oh, cool. There we go. Oh, and this stuff is leaking. Look at this. Gross. Anyone? No one want to repair this? No? This is not a good situation. I need to mine that out so I can build a pump, then I can pump the water. Make a liquid pipe out of granite. No, not of granite. Hang on. What do I have down here? Igneous rock. The way it raises the volume like that is really cool. And then I need a pump, which I can't build yet. It's a fairly serious flaw in the UI of this game, that you can't, you have to do something. If I want to build a pump here, I first have to demolish the sandstone, then I have to keep the pump. Oh god, it's going everywhere. Oh, it's not good. Guys, come on. Okay, believe it or not, this is actually quite a high priority job that I need you to get on with. Wait, what? Oh, this block is set to high priority. So it activated yellow alert when it started breaking. It's fine. I'm confused by why this suddenly started happening. I guess the pressure must have reached critical levels. Okay, this is all just leaking down into my power station. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want to happen. No one's coming to do this. Why not? Why can't they get there? It says it's unreachable. Is that because the pressure here is too high and they can't get down through the water? Possibly. Oh, good grief. How do I deal with this? I don't actually know. I could... What could I do? I could build a little thing to catch it here. This is going to get really complicated. I'll build a ladder there. And then I need to build a granite... Oh, this is the worst. There. Right. Oh man, this game. Okay, then I could break these. Oh, this could be bad. This could be really bad. Is it gonna leak? Oh, they're fine now. They're fine now. Okay, it is leaking, but I can get the, at least I can get the pump installed now. This is definitely the correct... Oh no, no, hang on, no, it's leaking. Oh no, this is gross. Oh, this is really bad. Quick, turn that off. Okay, the problem here is this water came out of the toilet, so it is infested with germs. This is the germ view. And it will contaminate any other water it comes into contact with. For some reason, when it leaked through the wall, that water was not contaminated. I guess because they didn't model that. But now that, so this uncontaminated water is now going to rapidly get contaminated, which means I definitely do not want them putting it back. This stuff is still uncontaminated, so that's fine. But I don't want them putting contaminated water into this water supply because it will contaminate it, and that's the tap that they use to put water back in the water supply. Right. Okay, so I now can get in and put a pump in here. Oh, this is gross. This is so gross. Well, I told my daughters about it, and my little one went, "Make them go in the poo water!" Like that. Sure. There we go. This is a total disaster. Look at this. Actually, I'll tell you what would be useful would be some ladders, so they don't have to walk through the water, wouldn't it? That would be great. Igneous rock, yeah. Hi, Chaplain. I'm having an absolute sanitary disaster. It's disgusting. There's germs everywhere. Oh, look at that. Horrible. My first 4 attempts at this game involved me contaminating my water supply by basically just constantly breaking the toilets, and then someone would just wet themselves and the water would drip into my clean water supply. This is awful, just awful. Oh, what? What's this guy doing? It's what? I've never seen that before. He's so happy. He's sparkling. Sparkle streaking athletics +8. Why is he so happy? He's got 18 morale. Oh, he had a really good meal. What was that? How did he have a really good meal? What? Why did that happen? Must have had a really tasty barbecue. I don't know why, though. Oh well. He's having a great time. Off he goes. Where's he going? I was going to get some iron. Oh, yes, okay. It's a little slow having to walk all the way around the entire baseline. Could just cut through here, but then this would leak again. I guess I could cut through like that. That would speed them up a bit. Is anyone infected? Probably. Oh god, that guy's infected with something. Oh god, where did he get that from? Oh Christ, from up here. Yeah, this isn't good. Oh god. Okay, hang on. Let's just build a... Why is everyone so infected all the time? Why are they... Oh, I haven't got enough tables! This game. I haven't got enough tables for everyone to eat, so they're just sitting on the floor. Oh, well, that's fine. They're new anyway, it's fine. Oh, he had a horrible meal. Now he's going to the toilet, and then if we look at the plumbing view, we can see his polluted water going down into the toilet to join the existing polluted water. Anyone want to build this stuff? No one's super bothered about it. Oh, it's bedtime. Okay, well, let's just leave the plumbing system then. It's not like it matters. This guy's on a night shift. Very good at washing his hands. This base design is atrocious, but I can't focus on my base design until I clean up this toilet emergency. What is everyone doing? Oh, it's because all the iron ore is down here, out in this land full of carbon dioxide and chlorine. They can't build all this stuff because all the iron ore is lying around on the floor. There's absolutely no attempt by the AI here to like keep their feet out of the water. This guy is just running under the ground, standing in the polluted water, getting on infected. I would build a sink, but there's like 4 exits to this room, so they're never going to get clean. Are they just carrying infection everywhere they go? I think they might be. I don't know, it doesn't seem to be... This yellow infection doesn't seem to be spreading. This green infection, though, is pretty nasty. Although it's not too bad. So I'm on an alien asteroid, and I'm colonizing an alien asteroid, and this game is kind of like... I was trying to think of a better example than Evil Genius. I swear there must be a macro management game that's... I guess Dwarf Fortress would be the classic, but I played Evil Genius 2 relatively recently. So it's kind of like the macro management of an Evil Genius or Dungeon Keeper or Dwarf Fortress type game, plus the machinery of Factorio. But honestly, I don't think it's as good as either. Oh, sorry, Evil Genius 2 wasn't very good, so it's kind of a toss-up. Like Evil Genius 2 didn't work very well as a macro management game, and this doesn't work very well as a macro management game. So which is worse is kind of a debate, but I don't think it does as well as Factorio. What's going on here? Why is this all out of power? What happened there? Okay, this has stopped running because there's no hydrogen in my hydrogen reactor to power the hydrogen reactor. That is not ideal. Alright, well, we need to deal with this crisis still, I think. No seed. Ah, yes, now, what do I want? I want... Thimbleweed. I have 41.11972 seeds. What the hell does that mean? Temperature has to be oxygen, polluted oxygen. Temperature has to be between 22 and 37. Yeah, why can't I select thimbleweed seed? Oh, it needs to be in water. Oh! No, hang on, it's submerged. Why can't I select that? Is that possibly because of the 41.1192? What is that? That's just broken. If I do that... No. Oh! No, it's because of this, it's because this ladder's in the way. Yeah, there we go. There we go, right. So I need to remove these ladders. I need to make an igneous rock ladder. Let's put one across there. control this like a buffoon. Oh, it's still leaking everywhere. It's so gross. I think actually we can mop this stuff up. Has everyone gone to sleep again? I'm really worried about germs. It's not, I don't really understand why there aren't germs and everything. The germ model is really, really cool. There's only like 4 different kinds of germ, and I've only met 3 of them. Food poisoning, which is like, you know, like, what, staph or something? And then slime lung, which is some sort of alien disease. And then floral scent, which is literally just pollen. And then zombie spores, which sound bad, but I haven't encountered yet. I'm assuming they're somewhere else on this alien asteroid. And they have different characteristics. So food poisoning spreads in water, and then it spreads into the polluted oxygen that the water gives off. But it doesn't do anything if it gets on their skin, or if they breathe it in or touch it, it doesn't do anything. But if they then prepare food, and then the food gets contaminated, and if they eat the contaminated food, then they get poisoned. So as long as you just wash your hands before making food, it's fine. So in that respect, I probably should have put a sink in front of the in front of the food preparation area. Now that I think about it, but never mind. All right, it's not being irrigated because no one's built this damn pump yet. Insufficient resources. What? Where's all the iron ore gone? Surely there's iron ore somewhere. Doesn't what? Have I not got any iron? How have I not got any iron? Need to mine out some iron. Is that iron? Yep. There's some iron. As my base suddenly expanded, I ended up with hardly any metal. Oh, look, there's some iron in here. This other stuff is coal. Is that enough? I think that's enough. Yeah, go for it, guys. It's good that they prioritise building all these over building the pump. I guess I didn't tell them otherwise, but they're not very bright. Oh, they're digging really fast. Okay, we found some iron now. Come on, Frankie, you can do it. Oh. Someone down here. No. Is this all oh, this is all unreachable. How is that? Oh, it's yeah. Okay, right. The oxygen suits aren't being powered up, which means that no one can get out there. Okay, fine. Well, that's good. There's some oil in here. Not iron, or iron ore. Okay, someone going to build it? Travaldo. Travaldo's going to build it. Oh, the pressure here is crazy. There we go. Oh god, this entire area is full of... Oh, this is so gross. You can see the water flooding along there. Beautiful. So I should have done this back when I started making the base. Oh hey Ty. The only reason I even know to do this is because I looked it up. I've had to look up. I don't think I've ever had to look up as much as this game. Maybe Dwarf Fortress? Probably Dwarf Fortress. Factorio, by comparison, I only had to look up one thing, and that was like how train signals work. But this game, I've just had to... Everything is so unintuitive, and so... Like, it's either works kind of the opposite to how it does in real life, or... Oh, no, that's not right. It either works the opposite to how it does in real life, or it's kind of its own thing in the game, but it's so bizarre that I had to kind of Google it. Like, decontaminating polluted water is staggeringly complicated because there's no machine that just does it. What's going on here? This looks like it's trying to be built, but it's got a thing around it as if it's being built, but it's been built? That's very confusing. Why don't we bottle that up? So the reason I'm doing this, so you can't disinfect the water for some reason. Well, you can, but it's staggeringly complicated. You have to collect the water, then you have to put the water into a container. Then you have to submerge that container in chlorine. But that container can't have an outflow pipe, because if it has an outflow pipe, the outflow pipe will become contaminated, and pipes, even sealed liquid containers that have chlorine gas around them, disinfect what's inside the liquid container, which is bizarre and counterintuitive. But the pipes going in and out of the container don't get disinfected by chlorine being around them. So there is a way around that using kind of weird hacks, but it's just bizarre. There's no machine that you just feed polluted water into, and it disinfects it, comes back out again. Sorry, hang on, I shouldn't say polluted water. Polluted water is a specific resource. The germs in the polluted water are separate from the polluted water itself. Oh god, it's spreading. Oh no, this is bad. Oh no, this is very foolish of me. Why have I done this? Quick, get an airlock on that room. Oh, I'm really low on iron ore. Oh, this is a disaster. I've used all my resources extremely poorly. It's the core philosophy of the game is so bizarre. It's kind of like... It's got like the scrappy macro management feel of something like Evil Genius, where like you've got these crazy minions that are useless and need constant micromanagement in order to... So like macro management, except your minions need to be constantly micromanaged. Which is what I found kind of a weird philosophy of game design, but whatever. Combined with a kind of sudden death feel where like if you do something wrong... So in Evil Genius, like your minions just die in vast quantities, and it is possible to screw the game up and get yourself into a death spiral, but it's hard to do that. In this game, it's absolutely trivial to get yourself into a death spiral, and it happens constantly. I do not know what... I'm going to deconstruct that one, and then make a new one, I think. It's confusing. It's a confusing game design. I'm not 100% sure what it's trying to accomplish. Oh, there's something on here preventing it from growing. Is that still preventing it from growing? It seems to have kind of a dedicated fan base. This just looks like a display bug. That weird. Like it's ghosted on there, but it doesn't. I try. Hang on. So if I just build another one. I guess that's just a bug. We're gonna fix it now. Nope. I should probably just save and load. I'll try and explain more about what's going on as I'm going through. But I won't stop to explain every mechanic in detail because it's so complicated. Right, what are we doing next? So this thing is diligently pumping away, and that's good. It seems to be draining all the water away. I don't know where all the water's going. I guess it's going into these... But where's it actually... I guess these are kind of filling up, but I don't know where the... I would have expected it to have filled up and stopped by now. I mean, it's fine because I want to get rid of this water, so it's not an issue. It's good that it has, but... it surprises me a bit. It suggests I'm not understanding... Because this says... Ah, here we go. Oh, okay. So the pipe contains 10 kilograms of water, but the... Oh, my Twitch website just broke. The pipe contains... So what's it saying? Yeah, the pipe contains 9.7 kilograms of water, but it's then... It's going into the hydroponic farm. But uh-oh. Body temperature. Is it too hot, too cold? What temperature do these things want? 22 to 37 degrees. It's 31 degrees in here, that's perfect. Don't know what that was about. Something funny must have happened. So yeah, the water seems to constantly be getting drained. I guess because the plants are absorbing it? But if so, they're absorbing it fantastically quickly, because this thing is just absolutely draining away. It's a good thing, I guess, but... no one coming to clean these up. Oh, hang on. They can't clean them up, right, so I need to turn... Right, this... oh, God, right, okay. A lot of the core mechanics of the game are solid, like, they just work. I mean, the basic design approach is a bit weird, but it's fine, it works. But then, bizarrely... So one of the things that's most likely to go on... is that a Vernic? I think so. Hi, Vernic. Unless I've got you wrong. No, wait, hang on, it's not a Vernic, is it? It's the other one beginning with A. I can't remember. Oh, it's a Vernic. Alright, okay. Who's the other one beginning with A? I can't remember. Anyway, sorry. This is, I guess, mid-game? I guess? It's not early game, because I've expanded out. Like, early game you start in just a tiny cave. But it's not late game, because I don't even have access to, like, oil yet. I think it's kind of mid-game where I've got my early, scrappy, total chaos base, and I'm trying to get it into some semblance of order where it could be, you know, usable in the late game. And therefore everything's in absolute shit. Right, sorry. So, one of the things that's quite likely to go wrong, right from the start of the game if you mess things up, which is quite easy to do. So I have a toilet, right? There's not many games that implement needing to go to the loo, and I'm glad they did, it's fun. I mean, it suits... I don't like the art style. The Steam store page is really off-putting for the art style, but it's not. I mean, you spend most of it at this sort of level of zoom, and it's not very offensive. I don't really like the style of the little people, but it doesn't matter. It's not negatively impacting my play experience. And the sort of cartoonish style of the buildings and stuff is fine. It doesn't bother me. But sorry. So given that cartoonish style, it's perfectly in keeping with that. For the characters to need a wee, and if they can't find a toilet, they wet themselves and it goes all over the floor. And it produces polluted water like this, which is infected with food poisoning. And that's quite likely to happen because, like, you know, in my first 3 attempts at this, which didn't get to this stage of the mid-game, like, I kept disconnecting the plumbing. So, like, the toilet needs clean water coming in and it needs a pipe going out. And if either of those things isn't true, it doesn't work, and then they will just wet themselves. And if that happens, and any of that water drips into your water supply, which is extremely likely, because this is my supercomputer. My supercomputer, for some reason, runs on water. The water can only come from this pump, this really basic, like, medieval pump arrangement, which requires an open water source to be quite near the supercomputer. Otherwise, they'd have to run for miles to get the water. There's no way to, like, get a bottle of water from a tap or anything like that. You have to use a pitch pump. So you're very likely to have an open water source, which means someone wandering through the base is going to wet themselves, and then the wee is going to go into the water source, and the whole water source will get contaminated. And it's just a disaster. So it's quite important to correct. And one of the things that you do, so when you tell them to mop up the water, they just put it in bottles. I don't know where they get these bottles from. It's a very weird... Like, it's really finicky in places, but in other places it's like, oh yeah, we just have an infinite supply of plastic bottles. So they have this infinite supply of magic plastic bottles, which they've just dumped here, as you can see. Those bottles, it turns out, the only way you can deal with them is to build one of these, a bottle emptier, which is a basic tool, and it just drips them over the edge. So you put the bottle in, and it just falls down. So again, it requires an open water source, but that's why I have one in this sump, so they've got somewhere to put their polluted water. But I have this. This is if I go to the germ display, this is a vat of germ-free polluted water. I don't know what polluted means in this context. Like, because this is like I found this is in the alien asteroid. I found there are these reservoirs of polluted water. They've got some kind of biological contaminant in them, I guess, a non-specific biological contaminant. But whatever it is, it's not dangerous, so it doesn't show up on the germ display. But this water, because it's wee, is contaminated. So I can't allow the two to mix. So even though I've got two bottle emptiers, one of them is for contaminated water, sorry, one of them is for germ contaminated water, and one of them is for not germ contaminated water. So I have to be very careful to make sure they don't, because if one of them takes one of these bottles, these bottles aren't polluted, but this is contaminated with food poisoning. So if I bottled this up and put a single drip of it into here, it would immediately contaminate this whole water supply. Well, sorry, not immediately, but it would contaminate faster than I could possibly do anything about it. So this entire supply would end up polluted. Not, sorry, what's the right word? Contaminated. So I'm going to turn this one on by saying you can dispose of polluted water here. And now they can, so that goes immediately run off to get that bottle. Wait, where's he taking it? Oh god, where's he taking it? What? Where's he? Oh, he picked up something else? He picked up some granite or something. What's he doing? Picked up some dirt. Why is he doing that? Why is he not picking up these bottles of water? Oh well, whatever. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, I see. It's because I told them to sweep up all this stuff, and there's no way for me to tell them to only sweep up the water. So they're sweeping up all the granite and stuff that happened to be lying around on the floor instead. Alright, these are my... Hang on, I have a whole load of native life that I've captured and I'm trying to feed. I have an arcade cabinet which has never had enough power to work because my generator isn't powerful enough to run it, so they excitedly run up to it and it immediately turns off because it doesn't have power. That's classic. Okay, this stuff's now harvestable. This is absolutely churning through this water. Well, that's good, I guess. It's nighttime again. I wonder why my Twitch display keeps breaking. I have it open so I can read the chat. There is a way to get the chat separately, but it's useful to know if the stream is working. But for some reason my Twitch, watching the Twitch video while streaming, constantly breaks. Don't know why. There we go. Oh, right, now I need you guys to tidy up this water. Can I set this to high priority? Yes, I can. There we go. Right, how are we doing for infection? Still infected all over the place. So the infection that spread through here... Ah, it's chlorine, yeah. So this room is full of chlorine. Just coincidentally, I didn't do that on purpose. But all the infection that spread through to here has got killed by the chlorine. In theory, I could fill this room with chlorine and kill the infection that way, but in practice that's staggeringly complicated. So the problem is that so the game has quite a sophisticated gas model, which is really cool. So you can see the different colours. All the gases are colour-coded. So pink is hydrogen, blue is oxygen, which is kind of uses oxygen as a simplification for like an appropriately breathable mixture of oxygen and nitrogen. And then this light bright green is chlorine, and then this sort of browny green is polluted oxygen, which functions essentially like oxygen but makes my people sick. The reason that those are different colours is because there's a biome transition, which I don't think mechanically means anything, but you can see here like there's sand and salt water here, and then there's slime and polluted water here because of the biome, which makes these gas. But you can still clearly identify which one's which. There is a mod to switch that off, which I can see why people would want it, because it just makes the game a little bit less readable, because once I've mined it out, that biome information isn't actually very important. I don't think it makes any game difference. But it's dominating the colour, because colour is so important. Anyway, sorry. So the point is those gases have different densities, and as such they rise and fall. Or they try to, if they can find. So this chlorine hasn't fallen because the floor is in the way. But eventually some of it will drift out the door and drift down and get replaced with oxygen. So over time it gradually sorts itself into the different boundaries, which is why, because there's no door here, this is separating more easily. So this room has ended up filled with chlorine, because it's heavier than the oxygen in this room. So just happen, and then the carbon dioxide is all collected here at the bottom. If I opened this up, the carbon dioxide would all fall down here. So that's why this is all full of carbon dioxide, because it's all just fallen down out of my base. I've started to now seal it up, but for a while I didn't, and everything was open, so just everything's kind of drifted down out of my base. Right, how are we doing here? Is this nearly dealt with, this problem? Yeah, it looks like it. Has that all been cleaned up? Looks like it. Is there any polluted water lying around? I can't see any. Oh, hang on, I should check the germ view. That's probably the best way of doing it. I don't see any more polluted water. Okay, so while that polluted water was in here, it was giving off polluted oxygen. But I don't see any... Oh yeah, there's polluted oxygen at the top. Oh, is there polluted oxygen rising up into here? Yes, it is. I don't understand exactly what polluted... I guess it's the same, like it's oxygen with biological contaminants in it. It's slightly germ infested, but not very heavily. It's hardly got any germs. Like, what's the germ? The germs here is 6 million per square, and the germs here is 300. So it's not very heavily contaminated. I can deal with that by building a deodorizer. So it's a bit clunky actually. So the gas stabilizing at different heights is really cool. Like it's fun because it's kind of realistic, but also like creates real gameplay because you can, like I could in theory allow this to stabilize and then put hydrogen mechanisms at the top and chlorine mechanisms at the bottom and carbon dioxide or like some plants can grow perfectly happily in carbon dioxide, so I could put those at the bottom. And you know, it would naturally sort itself into that regard. Is that those tooltips seem quite irritating? I don't think you can turn them off. It's unusual to have tooltips that are just there all the time and don't have like a slight delay before they come up. I've not really processed it, but I've just caught the Twitch stream out the corner of my eye. And it looks really irritating. Anyway, never mind. What was I saying? I can't remember. Oh yeah, so yeah, it's neat. This automatic sorting of gases is really cool. But oxygen and polluted oxygen have the same density, or same, I don't know what the right way to put it is, mass, I guess. So they just randomly sort, which is kind of annoying. So you end up with, like, up here, I think I had... No, where is it? Yeah, so here I have polluted oxygen below my oxygen. But then at one point I've drained it all out now with a pump, but I had these sort of clusters of polluted oxygen at the top with oxygen below them. So it's a bit of a shame really, because it's got such a good mechanic for that, but it doesn't really use it. This is still pumping. So I've got some reed fibre now, which is good. Still don't know what's happening. Oh, hey Theo. Yeah, I'm sorting out a contaminated poo problem. Okay, well this seems like it might just be just an infinite suction for polluted water, it turns out. So don't need to worry about that anymore. Are we done? I think we're done. Yes. These guys. So I've now got idle workers because I haven't given them anything to do. So now I can actually focus on a different problem. So I was going to build a huge, because this started to go over pressure as well. I was going to build a big vat for polluted oxygen, for polluted water. But it feels like these might be quite a good sink for polluted water. I don't know. Can they? I wanted to move my sump because it's kind of in the way. It's awkwardly placed. I built it way at the bottom of my base where it wasn't a problem at all, and now my base has expanded all around it and it's kind of in the way now. Because I've got this central like spine corridor thing here and I wanted to carry on bringing that down. But I don't know what... it's just kind of really awkward. Space is a real consideration because you have to... You not only have to dig out... So most macro management games have a mechanic where it matters how far away things are, like even in The Sims, which is like the ultimate macro management game. Like if your toilet is too far from your kitchen, then your Sims will take so long to go to the toilet that either they wet themselves on the way, or they just lose a huge portion of their day going to and from the toilet. And so in The Sims, you want everything to be as absolutely efficiently packed as possible, which kind of plays a little bit against the core mechanic of the game, which is kind of relaxing and enjoying yourself and building a fun house. But like if you build a grand mansion and it doesn't have lots of toilets strategically placed near every important object, then your Sims will really suffer as a result. So this game has that as well. So like, you know, it takes forever to run from down here in this power room all the way up here to, like, I don't know, shear this guy. I've got these weird sheep alien things that crawl on the ceiling. plus the space itself is hard work to mine into. So all of these, like you start in this, like it's got this biome system from, I assume does Terraria do something like this? I've never played Terraria, but it's got the biome system that I think of as being from Subnautica, where you start in like quite a friendly environment and then you immediately expand out into hostile environments. Although there isn't that much variety, to be honest. There's like this kind of biome that's full of chlorine, so there's one of those there and another one there and another one, where is it? There. And then there's this slime biome, which is full of poisonous slime and polluted water, which is there and there and there and there. And then there's this sand biome, which actually seems less hostile, but wasn't immediately adjacent to me on any of my starts. So I think it must be like a tier 3 biome, basically. And then same for this cold biome. There's not actually that much variety. Sorry, but my point is, it's hostile in all directions, like, because it's full of poisonous chlorine, which you don't want to release into your base, or poisonous slime, which you don't want to release into your base. So you're kind of crammed in a little bit to start with. So you really, if you want more space to work with, you really have to like work for it. It's hard work to get more space, and you have, and then the third thing is oxygen really matters. So I have to produce oxygen using what are ultimately limited resources. So at the moment I have these things oxidizing. Electrolyzers, which are taking in water and breaking the water apart into oxygen and hydrogen, but there's a finite amount of water available on the asteroid. There's a lot, but it will run out, and I'm burning through it pretty fast. I mean, you saw how quickly I drained that sump just to water these crops. And so if I let that oxygen just spread out everywhere, space, like the more space I take up, the less efficient my rooms are, the more oxygen I need to fill them up. So you really have to take seriously like questions of space efficiency. It's not even more so than The Sims, which just has this as a core mechanic. You can't just spread out randomly in all directions. So I think if an experienced oxygen not included player looked at what I was doing, they'd be horrified and just go, "Why have you got these vast caverns full of air? You don't need this. You should be building much tighter, smaller structures that much more efficiently do what you need to do." But I've got no idea what I'm doing really, and it's just honestly looking at it now, it's intimidating me how confusing it is. Somehow, I don't know how, but somehow some crude oil fell into my primary water supply. I don't know how. Also, I know this contaminated water, this overflooded and came out through this door and fell down here, but luckily it wasn't infected with germs, so this polluted water is just going to sit in the corner not mixing. And so somehow, I don't know where they even got it from. I didn't have any, but someone dropped some oil here, and it ran down here and dripped into my water tank. But luckily, it's heavier than the water, so it seems to be. And luckily, my pump isn't on the ground, so it's not pumping oil into my toilet. So that's good. Theo said, "This kind of reminds me of Fallout Shelter. I don't know if you've ever played it. Think about your room placements." Yeah, you could. Yeah, I have played. I played Fallout Shelter when it first came out. Yeah. You could consider it to be an extremely complex version of Fallout Shelter. It's doing something a bit different, but the basic sort of 2D base management, 2D sci-fi base management, and you have to care about like sealing areas off. Yeah, is kind of similar at a core idea. God, what am I doing? I'm just staring at this and I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. What am I doing? I've got to have some kind of objective. Okay, hang on. So my long-term objectives are... So I've got so it tells me my objectives on this thing. So there's two possible objectives. I can either make a home or try to escape. And making a home sounds boring, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to try and escape. And it told me somewhere, or possibly I read it, I can't remember, I keep having to look things up, that space is up, which makes intuitive sense. So if I dig up, I'll find space. But also, half the technologies I want to build need plastic, and plastic needs oil, and oil is down. So I dug down, I just sent a guy on a really long epic journey building ladders. And he dug down and down and down, and then I found this, and there's oil in here. There's oil and fossils. And also, this is kind of cool, but also ultimately a bit disappointing. There was like human remains in this asteroid, like buried into the rock. And that was really exciting to me, and I was really motivated to go and discover them. This was the first one I discovered. And there was computer desks, and when I went and accessed the computer, the files that were on the computer were really mundane. They were like, like the standard joke that all computer games do when it's like, "Hi Bob, I'm sending you this email. Don't forget your password." That kind of like, um, um, what's the right word? Mundane, like mundane office chatter, which is ultimately a bit disappointing. Apparently there's some sort of science project they're working on. My theory about how this stuff got buried here. So when I emerged at the start, we were sent. We're like a colonization program that was sent to this asteroid, but we woke up buried deep inside the asteroid, and we've got this thing called a printing pod. And all of my people aren't people; they're called duplicants, and they get printed by the printing pod. It collects material and prints them out of genetic ooze. So my theory is that we are not the colonists. We are, like, it's been like 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years or something. So the colonists landed, built a colony, were wiped out by something, probably poisoned water supply, knowing the way this game seems to go. They probably someone weed in the water tank and they all died. And then over 1,000,000 years, the asteroid got crunched and smashed together and something. And then this printing pod somehow came reactivated and started printing clones. So as far as we know, we've only just arrived. That's my theory. But I don't actually know if that's true. Right, anyway, sorry, so what's my objective? Right, so my long-term objective is to get up to space, but my short-term objective is to get oil. But this oil is so far away that I can't... By the time they get there, they're, like, tired out, and they have to run all the way back to get food. So I was focusing instead on just trying to sort of make my base a bit saner, because at the moment it's just all over the place, and I'm producing oxygen, which is leaking, and... I was started clearing out these areas. I had to sort of disinfect them. That's what all this gantries and stuff are for, running disinfection. And that way I could have some more room to expand into. I've also run out of iron almost completely. Oh, there's a whole bunch more iron in this biome, so I could dig into this biome and mine iron. I'm honestly not really sure what I should be doing. I don't have any idea what to do when I get here. Do I have, like, oil... Do I just suck up the oil? What do I do? Ah, oil refinery. Here we go. It converts crude oil into petroleum and natural gas. That sounds useful. That sounds like something I would want. So what I could do is build a pipe all the way down to here, and then, like, suck the oil up and build an oil refinery up here somewhere. Oh, but then there's a whole mechanic I haven't even mentioned yet. There's about 700 of those. Temperature really matters. Oh yeah, so another aspect of the philosophy of this game, so like macro management plus, so imperfect macro management plus mistakes made due to macro management can completely ruin your playthrough. The other key feature of the game is long-term mistakes which you didn't know even existed, which cause you to have to restart. That's the other major feature of this game. So temperature is apparently one of those. So it has along with its really sophisticated gas model, its really sophisticated liquid model, its really sophisticated germ model, all of which are really impressive. It also has a really sophisticated temperature model, where temperature just gradually equalizes between materials. And so there are cold areas of the asteroid and warm areas of the asteroid, and the temperature just sort of spreads over time. It gets interrupted by this fake material here, abyssalite, which they seem to have placed down. It's really pretty, but they've placed it down between the biomes. It seems to be what defines a biome transition. And so abyssalite seems to have, like, infinite heat absorption potential, or very high heat absorption. So basically heat doesn't spread across it. So there are, like, can I show an example? Yeah, here. So this cold biome isn't equalizing heat because there's abyssalite between it and the areas around it. So you can kind of see it happening already. That the hot areas of my base, like the coal generator, are gradually just warming up, and that heat never dissipates anywhere. It doesn't have anywhere to go. I mean, in theory, after infinite time, it would sort of spread out and equalize all across the thing. But the chances are that the overall heat, because my coal generator is just running and running and running and constantly generating heat, eventually, you know, the average ambient heat is just rising and rising, and will eventually be so hot that my plants can't grow anymore. Yeah, so these plants won't grow above 30 degrees. And these plants so these ones have already died because of the encroaching heat from over here. There's like a hot area here, and the heat from that area is spreading out because there wasn't an abyssalite boundary here. The heat from that area is gradually spreading into my base and has started killing my plants. So if I'd been running coal generators and refineries non-stop like you normally would in this kind of game, I would have just doomed my base, and there'd be nothing I could do about it now. So the reason I mention that is I think I probably ought to build the oil refinery down here if I'm going to run a refinery and you know, how do I make plastic? I need plastic is the thing I need. I have a whole bunch of recipes that need plastic, but I can't. How do I make it? Polymer press? Yeah, here we go. Converts petroleum into raw plastic. And what kind of heat does that output? 32 kDTUs. I don't know what unit that is, but it sounds like a lot. And the oil refinery outputs 10 kDTUs. Yeah, okay. So I do not want to do that. Oh, there's diamonds down there. I do not want to do that near my base, I guess. I could dig into this cold area and try and do it there. God, I don't know. The problem is it's all so far from my base. I don't have... I can build fireman's poles. That's really cute. But fireman's poles take ore, iron ore, or gold. I guess I could make them out of gold. I have more gold than iron at the moment. So that would allow them to get there much faster, but then they wouldn't be able to get back again. I got a recipe to build travel tubes. Where are those? Here? No. Here. But I can't build them because I need plastic. So I'm just honestly not sure how to get things here fast enough to actually get anything done. Plus it's unbreathable atmosphere all the way here, so they'd have to spend the entire time in an atmosphere suit. Okay, I know what I need to do. I need to get this working. This is what I need to do. Hang on. How do I do this? Right. My power plant, so the hydrogen generator is taking hydrogen to emit power to power these pumps that create hydrogen. But unfortunately it's run out of hydrogen, so then the whole system shut down. So what I need is a manual generator here. And then I need to wire that up to, God, to what? To this battery? To this battery. To this battery. Right? And then I need to tell the... Oh God, what are they making that out of? Copper. Okay, fine. Can I automate that? Will that tell me? Yes, I can. Okay. So then that's an automation wire. Oh God, what did I make that out of? Copper. Oh, it's fine. So then that... Right, yep, it's fine. It's fine. My people should come and deal with this problem for me. Where's it off to? Kind of intriguing seeing what they're all doing. I've installed several mods. One of them just makes them prioritize their tasks a bit more intelligently so that they tend to do nearby things rather than just run all over the map, like doing one thing. By default, they do one thing that's way at the left of the base and then another thing that's way at the right of the base. Did that help? Oh, we can't do it for very long because there's no oxygen in here. That's terrible. Did that help? Oh man, this isn't a good system, is it? This is my incredibly badly designed hydrogen pumping system. I could pipe, so I have quite a lot of hydrogen up here because the hydrogen is all floated to the top of my base because it's lighter than air. I could sort of build some complicated system here to pump hydrogen down to here. That would be a good thing to do. I guess in retrospect, I probably should have built a hydrogen power supply at the top of the base and a coal power supply at the bottom of the base. That, now that I think about it, that would actually make a lot more sense. But never mind. No one wants to come and help. What are they doing? Something else. Whoa! I love the fireman's pole, it's great. I was very annoyed early on because ladders are 1 wide, but airlocks are 2 wide. But then it turns out that there's a fireman's pole so you can build both, so it actually works really nicely. Where's he going? He's gone to pick up a... Why have you gone to... Oh! Oh! That's a glossy Dreco. Ah, it can... A glossy Dreco. Okay, I don't think I like this. But it is, I can't deny that it's cool from a mechanical perspective. So having said it's an enormous faff to go and get the plastic, to go and get oil to make plastic, and the fact that industries generate heat and it's all a huge pain in the ass. This creature, so this is like a mutant of one of these, it's got plastic scales, which you can shear off, so you can like farm plastic basically without generating heat by farming these creatures. Which at an ideological level I don't think I really like, because it's so unbelievably contrived. Like, there's absolutely no way that farming animals could possibly be heat efficient or pollution efficient. It's almost like I mean, obviously the game hasn't said anything explicit to me, but I feel like it's trying to make an ecological point. Like Subnautica explicitly like doesn't let you kill animals for useful resources, and that seems to be an ideological point for the developers, which I don't really get where they're coming from, because humans killing large predators isn't humans farming large predators for resources isn't really a major problem. I guess it's bad if they're endangered, but you're like one human on this planet, so it doesn't make any difference. But yeah, from the point of view of not even having to bother engaging with any of this, if I could catch this guy and farm him, I guess he probably wouldn't produce plastic on a scale large enough. But I'm doing a similar thing up here. So these creatures are called hatches, and they eat stone. They eat is it any stone? Most kinds of stone. And also meat for some reason. They can eat meat or stone. Yeah, sand, sandstone, sedimentary rock. So they like soft stone, I guess. And they poop out coal. I don't know how. Doesn't make any sense, but they poop out coal. So it's an infinite source of coal. Or, sorry, not an infinite source of coal, but since there's like an effectively inexhaustible supply of just stone from digging out all these rocks to get to the useful ones, then they can turn all that into coal, which I can then use to power coal power generators. So I have this huge farm for these things because they need a huge amount of space. Otherwise, they're extremely unproductive. Again, it's kind of an ideological point. Like factory farming isn't useful, and from a game design point of view, I don't really like that. I feel like it's kind of my ideology, right? But like, to me, points of game design, or no, that's I'm overstating it. The way that I think about game design is that it's an interesting way to demonstrate why things in real life are the way they are. And that's something that you see crop up in my work quite a lot, is like putting the player in a situation where they are given the choice to do the ideologically correct thing, but it's way easier and more pragmatic to do the incorrect thing. And I get, like, if I was going to transform that into an ideology, I guess it would be something like, don't judge the people in Brazil for destroying the rainforest when they've been put into an economic situation. Like, if we want them to stop destroying their rainforest, we need to alleviate the economic situation that's causing them to do so, not just tell them off because it's immoral to destroy the rainforest, because from an economically pragmatic point of view, it's the right decision, because the externalities don't affect them in the short term. If we want to effect that kind of change, we need a systemic improvement so that activities like that are no longer incentivized, rather than just shouting that they're immoral, if that makes any sense. So I feel like it's the same here. Like, factory farming isn't bad because it doesn't work. Factory farming is bad because it does work, but it causes an immense amount of suffering. So like, I wouldn't have a problem if like factory farming was extremely efficient, but whenever your people came into the farm, they got really sad. And there is morale, like there's a morale system. So if it didn't make any sense to factory farm because your people just couldn't cope with the emotional stress of it, because the game has chosen to model emotional stress, and it's not a good idea to put someone who's living in like an extreme survival environment under that much emotional stress, that's fine. But the fact that you have to give them an enormous amount of space in their captivity, otherwise they become extremely unproductive. That just feels like the wrong way to model that, because I don't feel like it doesn't capture what the problem of factory farming is. Like, if I had little creatures, if I was in a practical survival environment where like I was extremely likely to die, and I found a native life form that pooped out a resource that I needed to ate a resource I didn't need and produced a resource that was extremely important, I would catch as many of those and put them in tiny boxes as I could. That is not a situation in which I'd be like, oh, but the humanity, how can we survive? If we mistreat animals, does that make us any better than them? It's just not the right time for it. That was one of the things I really liked about Factorio. Factorio has this incredible, blunt, cynical feel where you've got one man trapped on an alien world, and he builds this vast industrial infrastructure because he needs it in order to be able to build a rocket and escape. You can't do that with like one man and a hammer. Can't just like build a rocket without causing any damage. So he builds this vast automated factory that spews out so much pollution that it just kills off vast swathes of the planet's life just so this one guy can escape. I feel like it's really making its point well there by allowing you to do it, whereas this game and Subnautica, which kind of prevent you from doing that, I feel like they almost miss the point that they're making. Anyway, sorry, right, well, that was a long ramble. So I caught these guys, which are called hatches. They sedimentary rock and soft rock and poop out coal, but very rarely they will produce an egg which hatches into one of these, which is a stone hatch. What do stone hatches do? I can't remember. They eat. They also excrete coal, but they eat hard rock. So they eat hard rock and excrete coal, which is less useful, but basically the same. And they mostly give hatchlings as eggs, but also sometimes produce stone hatches. Oh, I bet I'm feeding them the wrong diet. What am I feeding them? Yeah, I'm feeding them granite. I think if I fed them something more appropriate, because their population seems to be dying off. I haven't checked on them for a long time. I used to have 14 of them, but now I only have 3. No, only 2 in fact. Oh, that's fine because I don't need them anymore. It should be auto moving. So these guys are in the wrong enclosure. They should be in the hatch enclosure, not in the stone hatch enclosure. Anyway, they're a mutant variety that eats harder rock. If you feed them copper ore, or I think any kind of metal ore, then they have a chance to mutate, or their children have a chance to mutate into these things. And these things eat metal ore and poop out refined metal ore, which means you don't need a refinery. So I fed them a fairly large quantity of copper, iron and gold, and they've created a large amount of refined material, which avoided all the heat of having a refinery. Why was I saying that? Yes, so it looks like I should probably do the same thing with this guy and catch him and put him in a... So I started building, so I've got some up here. These are the basic ones. They're shearable for their fur. I can't remember even why I caught them because my daughter thought they were cute. And it took me, they all nearly died because they only produce fur in hydrogen. I don't know why. They don't have to live in hydrogen. It produces fur. But their natural, the plant that they like to eat only grows in chlorine. So their natural habitat is this up here. They live in these chlorine pockets and they eat these things, balm lilies. But they need to grow fur, and the only plant that grows in hydrogen that they will eat is the pincher pepper plant. But the pincher pepper plant will only grow above 35 degrees. So I built this whole thing for them, planted a load of pincher pepper plants, and it was just 34 degrees, so it wouldn't grow. But then I found this steam vent up here. It says cool steam vent, and by cool it means 110 degrees. So this thing periodically emits 110 degree steam. I've blocked it off, which stops it from producing steam because it's flooded. But there was basically this huge pool of hot water. So I basically drained it. This was all solid, and I drained it down here. So this is just a pool of hot water. It's now cooled down now to 40 degrees to warm up all this. So you can see the heat spreading, which warmed up the pincher pepper plants so that these animals wouldn't die, so that my daughter wouldn't be sad because she didn't want them to die. And I can't now these blocks can't. This stuff's in the way, so I can't grow plants, but I can't replace them because if I do, the water will all fall in. I should probably pump this water somewhere more useful at some point. Theo said, make sure you're not feeding coal to dragons or your mountains will melt. Yes, yes. Slightly, what's the right word? Slightly on the nose? Okay, another thing I've really struggled with in this game, that I think this is probably personal. You know that annoying thing where people do where they say OCD, but they don't actually have OCD. An OCD thing, like I like it when my rooms are standardized. I want my rooms to all be 2x2 or 4x4 or whatever. I like to have a fairly organized grid. But this game is really inconsistent on whether it wants your rooms to be 3 high or 4 high. And that just makes everything a higgledy-piggledy mess that's difficult to organize. So, because the starting building is 4 high, So I initially just started, I assumed 4 high was just the game's standard height, because there's usually something fairly high. But your little guys, when they're building, can't reach the 5th tile above them. So they can't build a roof. They can dig out this. So if you want a natural rock roof, they can dig out this layer and then have a natural rock roof above them, and that's fine. At the start of the game, that works perfectly well. But they can't build this floor unless you build a ladder up, and then they can lay the floor in here. And that works too, that's fine. But then in this situation where I've specifically built a new one because it's really hot here. What's the temperature? Yeah, 60 degrees here. So I thought this would be a good place to build pinch of pepper plants, and because there's hydrogen here as well, I thought this would be a good place to move my Draco farm to. So I built it but never finished it. But they can't reach the ceiling to plant the plants or to fertilize them because it's too high. So a 4 high room won't work, which is incredibly annoying. Good lord. Can't think of a game that's moved. But Factorio, I thought this would be a fun game to stream because when I was streaming Factorio, my friend who hates my streams was watching and thought it was tremendously entertaining because I was just constantly baffled by what I had to do next. And I thought this would be fun to stream in the same way, but it's mostly finding it frustrating. So I need to put in, so if I'm going to build this, I need to put in a new floor. And then I need to make this room bigger. Why do I need to make it bigger, you ask? Because these things have to be, remember the animals need an enormous amount of space. So if I go to the rooms interface, I can see that this is a 96 tile stable, which is the optimum size for housing 8 creatures. So if I want this to be a stable, then this also needs to be 96 tiles, but at the moment it is 1,189 tiles because it's not closed at either end. Okay, brilliant. Right, so let's count, hang on. A 96 tile stable is, oh yes, it's 32 tiles, of course it is. So I would need to make this 16. So I need to make it 4 wider on either end. And I've run out of iron ore again, so I can't do any of that. Brilliant. Okay. So I think for now, I guess I'll just catch this glossy Draco. Yeah, okay, after all that, turns out what I need to do is catch this glossy Draco. Good lord. Did I get the power working? Yes. I feel like there's something profoundly inefficient about my oxygen supply here. I think it's because this room is too large, so a lot of the oxygen is just kind of spreading out and the pump isn't catching it. I could build another pump, but then that would... The pumps take a huge amount of electricity. Oh, here's a fun mechanic the game really, really didn't need. No, where's he going? Okay, it's fine. Here's a fun mechanic the game really didn't need. So you make power, right? Here's, I don't think I've shown this yet. Oh yeah, I have, yeah. So you distribute the power via the wiring grid. Great. Fantastic. Thumbs up. Make power here, distribute it, send it out to things. Except that the wiring has a maximum wattage, and if it tries to carry... If you try to draw too much current along the same wire, then the wire just randomly burns out and explodes. I think it's and so like basic wire is rated for 1,000 watts. So if you put more than 1,000 watts worth of machinery on the same wire, and then activate it all at once, which might happen if you just if you wire up your entire base to the same electrical network, then it burns out and random wires get destroyed. So you can't do that. You can't wire everything together. Instead, you have to build heavy-duty wire, which is... Can I show it? It's what's running up and down this ladder, I think. Hang on, is it? No, it's not. This is regular wire. This thick wire here is heavy-duty wire. So you build heavy-duty wire, which then runs around the base, and then you move the heavy-duty wire through to a transformer, which is quite... I mean, to be fair to this transformer, it's very well labelled for what it does. It takes in big electricity and it outputs little electricity. And then you can then... That transformer then separates the heavy-duty network from the local network, so that you can then distribute that wiring locally to all the nearby devices and things. Which is all great. Except that my people hate heavy-duty wire and transformers. Like, whenever they go near them, it makes them sad. Which means that... Why are these guys not being ranked? Because they hate it, you're supposed to then design your base with that in mind. Like hiding them in supply cupboards and things like that. Or like, so that's why I've got this power station down here out of the way, so it doesn't make people sad. But it's just... it's so complicated. This is right. So we've actually run out of... we've actually run out of poo. That's good. I'm glad that we've run out of poo. Oh, this isn't infected somehow. I wonder if the germs have all... Oh god, why are there germs on this thing? What on earth? Oh, they're dying, okay. You can see them dying in real time. Like, that really appeals to me. I love that it's like, we're going to model every individual germ. It's just really funny. It's such a, like, it's a simple way of doing it, and it's not actually like, because obviously it's not like, it's not modeling an individual germ, it's modeling the tile, and the tile has germs on it. I love that it just gives you this exact, like, rather than being like, normally you would just sort of like abstract that out to a percentage or something, and I love that they haven't done that, and instead they've just kept the full number because it's really compelling. And like the fact that I had this disgusting germy water that had like 6 million germs in it because all of the toilet water from the last 235 days had all gone down into this one sump and was pressurizing, and so it was just, all of it was just thriving down there. It's great. It's really flavorful. Right, what's going on here? Okay, every 3 days the printing pod reactivates. Okay, here's another fun mechanic. It reactivates and it gives you a choice of 3 different people that you might like to join your colony, or 1 randomly selected object. Very occasionally it's 2, and you get a choice between 2 objects, which is clearly, like, this UI is clearly telling me, pick a person, or if you really don't want any of those people, here's a consolation prize. And it turns out you should always take the consolation prize, because printing more people is absolute death. Which is kind of intriguing. Like, I think it's fundamentally flawed in the way that they've built it, because the primary difficulty of the game is providing supplies to more people. The more people you have, the harder it is, because like you don't really need to expand when you have a small. So you start with 3, and 3 people can see there's 15 plants here, and that's enough. That provides enough food for 3 people, and 3 people don't really need very much oxygen. The passive oxygen generation you just sort of get from bunging down a couple of, like, you've got these machines that convert algae into oxygen, and 3 people don't need very much oxygen. So as long as you're careful, you can kind of sustain like that for a long time. The game actually gets harder as you add in more people rather than easier, and there's nothing implicitly wrong with that. That's how Dwarf Fortress works. Like Dwarf Fortress, you start with like 10 people or 13 people or something, and you build this very small, efficient fortress, and the more people that get added to your fortress, you're like, where am I going to find rooms for these people? Where am I going to find food for these people? They're not net productive, and that's kind of so the way Dwarf Fortress does it is the more successful your fortress is, the more people hear about how wonderful your fortress is, and the more like refugees and immigrants show up that you now are responsible for. And so it uses it as kind of a difficulty scaling mechanism. And as your fortress becomes more and more important, nobility show up, and nobility are just a nightmare. Like a mayor shows up, and the mayor now starts making... No, sorry, I think one of your people when you reach a certain population, one of your people declares themselves the mayor, and that mayor now refuses to do any work, and makes all sorts of crazy demands, like I must have an obsidian wardrobe in my large room, or something like that. And then eventually your fortress becomes so renowned that dwarf nobility starts showing up, and those guys are just all start unproductive and make absolutely outrageous demands of you, and satisfying them is where the difficulty curve comes from. And this game kind of has all of that, but it's all completely optional, because you can always just decline to add more people to your base. So my first base, I did the exact same thing everyone does. Having read around, it seems everyone has this problem, and they just print people, because you've got an interface that suggests that you should print them, and you've got every other game of this sort where just, accumulating population is kind of the goal, except Dwarf Fortress, which explicitly makes it a penalty and foists them on you anyway. So basically all of the challenge of the game is completely optional, but the only people who are ever going to really experience that challenge are new players who don't realise that it's completely optional and that they're doing it wrong. Which is just, that's weird. It's a really weird setup. Is he waiting for the loo? Let's see, this is really nicely modelled. Is he waiting for the loo? No, he's just standing around. Okay. When they go to the loo, they instantly acquire like 100,000 germs. And then when they wash their hands, they lose 100,000 germs. So you have to make sure there's a toilet on the way out from the loo, otherwise they'll just wander around with germy hands. God, what was I doing? I was trying to catch a Dreco, wasn't I? Did they catch him? I don't see him. Is he in here? Nope. Where is he? Has he just wandered off somewhere? Probably. I did dig quite a large tunnel. I don't see him anywhere. Where is he? Maybe someone's got him in their hands and is carrying him right now. It is quite a long way. Nope. Oh well. God damn it. So what is my objective again? I can't remember. Okay, I feel like glossy Drecos right now is not what I can do, and I also feel like all refinery is not what I can do. I think what I need is a large supply of iron ore. So I think what I need to do is dig my way into here. And that is going to be a massive faff. The game's extremely lenient about the use of oxygen. So so there's a room here just full of carbon dioxide, and you'd think that would be bad, but actually they can survive without oxygen for quite a long time. Like, they can hold their breath for a really long time. They don't like going in areas of very high or very low pressure, but it's not that dangerous to them. So actually, probably the right thing to do here, rather than set up a really complicated like airlock system with gas, is to just tell them to mine it out and let them suffer. I think that's probably the best thing to do, because that's basically what I did here. Like, I actually did build an airlock, and there was gas masks and everything, and eventually I ended up with so much oxygen I just didn't need to worry about it. But I don't know. It's so convoluted. Is that a good thing? I think it's a good thing. I like that it's asking me to take it seriously. I like that it's like, you know, space is serious business. You can't just mine in space. It's difficult. Mining in space is difficult. But it is a bit... I guess it's not like... I like that it's conceptually difficult. I like that it wants me to take it seriously. You know, do I have enough oxygen and blah, blah, blah. It's a massive faff using the controls available to actually execute. That's the problem. It's fine for it to be fiddly. It's kind of annoying that it is really hard work for me, you know, like it's exhausting to play, which is a shame. Right, how am I going to do this? I am going to put in a ceiling here and here. And I'm going to put a ceiling in here so that I can build an airlock. Oh yeah, so here's a fun thing. So this was annoying me so much I modded it out. This device here is called an airlock, manual airlock. There is an automatic one that takes power, but I haven't been bothering to use them. An airlock keeps liquid and gas out, as you might expect, right? Except it isn't actually an airlock, it's an airlock door. Despite the name, it's just an airlock door. So when they open it, it lets the water and gas through, which I discovered to my great amusement when I built one into the bottom of a water tank like this, and then someone walked in and all the water flooded out and flooded my base. You can use two of these to make a proper airlock mechanism, but doing so would be staggeringly complicated, because you would have... So all the tools for this exist in the game. So you could build, like, see here, I've built a kind of airlock sort of, and this isn't a sealed door, but it could be a sealed door. You would then have to build two airlock doors. You could then build a gas sensor. You'd have to have two gas sensors, like, or no, maybe I guess only one, because all you care about is oxygen, right? So you'd have an oxygen sensor, and you'd only allow this door to open if there's oxygen in the room. God, I don't know. No, you'd have to write some convoluted logic, but there are the tools to do that. There are convoluted logic gates here that would allow you to build like a large computer underneath. I guess I'd build it in this room, like a large logic computer to determine. I don't want to go through it now because I'm not going to do it, but like the basic logic of whether the door should or shouldn't open, and then you can build pumps to pump. If it's filled with external atmosphere, you'd pump it back out again. If it's filled with oxygen, you'd pump it back in again so as not to waste it, because you don't want to expel oxygen from your base. So you'd need 2 sets of pumps and 2 sets of, and then you'd need some logic to use an atmosphere sensor to detect what is in. Yes, I guess if there's oxygen in there, activate this pump and pump it in. If there isn't oxygen in there, activate this pump and pump it out. And then set some conditions under which the doors will and won't open. And all of that is possible using the game's mechanics. But the AI would break, because the guy would wander in there and then the door would lock and then he would starve to death while all that was running. So you just can't build a practical airlock. It just doesn't work. Like, the tools exist, but the AI and the unit behaviors wouldn't respect it, because it doesn't happen fast enough and it'd be too convoluted. So I just installed a mod that makes this is an airlock that doesn't allow air through, even when it's open, which is absolutely crucial. Oh, so what the community have discovered is that you can build what they call a liquid lock, which is like a U-bend. You build a toilet U-bend. And this game has it has a very sophisticated liquid and gas model, but it doesn't, in real life, that wouldn't work. Because every time a person went through the U-bend, they would splash a load of water out of it and it would run out fairly quickly. And secondly, because some gas does pass through, so it wouldn't be completely airtight, especially not into a vacuum. But that's what the players have used for this purpose, because that doesn't happen. So you can build like a water trap and then use that as a perfect airlock, and that's just that's just offensive to me, because it's so ridiculous, it so defies common sense that I don't really want to play that game. So I'd rather install a mod that allows me to have a sensible looking base. I would prefer this to be like a long airlock rather than just a single door. I guess I could just simplify. I guess I could simulate that by just always building 2 in a row. Okay, yeah, maybe I should do that actually. That's kind of why I've got this little thing here. Maybe I should do it by just building 2 airlocks. No, but then it wouldn't have any oxygen in it. So yeah, I'll use this arrangement. That's fair enough. What am I trying to say? So there is a mod which makes like a 4-unit long one rather than a 1-unit long one to make it look a bit more realistic. But that mod's currently broken because they updated the game, so I'm having to use this one. Anyway, well, I can't even remember why I brought. Anyway, it's really irritating, but if you can fix it with the mod, you might as well, so it's fine. What am I even doing? I've completely distracted myself now. No idea what's going on. Oh, I was digging up here, wasn't I? Yes, so that's why I built this. That's why I got onto that. So that I can build an airlock here. And that way, when I go and muck about out here, I won't lose all the oxygen out of my base, which is what I did everywhere else, which is why the oxygen in my base is so thin. There's a kind of flooring. This is really cool. There's a kind of flooring here. This lets air through. And there's another kind of flooring here, which lets air and liquid through. But they're made of metal rather than stone. So I don't have anywhere near enough metal to make my entire base out of them. So I built the bedroom ceilings with this, so that any hydrogen that got trapped in would go up, because the bedroom started to fill with hydrogen at one point. Right, now what am I doing? I guess I'm building more of this. Nope. And then I'm digging out all of this. I guess I should probably wait for that to finish. They are atrocious at doing stuff in a good order. They just don't, basically. The only times people have ever died is when they've managed to trap themselves. Like, they dig in such a way as to trap themselves. I had one guy who somehow managed to seal his head inside a stone block because he stood on he stood on a tile. It was like I told him to like build a wall here and also dig out the floor. So he decided to build the ceiling before digging out the floor. So he stood here. He built this block. He built this block. He now can't move. So then he built this block and sealed his own head in the ceiling and died. And I think that might be the worst builder AI I've ever seen. And if that happened in Evil Genius, that would be absolutely hilarious, because I've got like 700 minions. It doesn't matter what happens to any of them. That's really funny. But in this game, where you've got like 3 people and they're incredibly precious and they all like accumulate XP slowly over time and stuff, that's just unbelievably annoying. So this Abyssalite, I'm trying to be very cautious about mining out Abyssalite, because I don't want the hot areas. I don't want to release the temperature of the hot areas, basically. So I'm not mining out. I'm being very careful not to mine that Abyssalite vein there, because all this heat will then gradually go into my base. But because I do want to release this cold area, I think. I think so. If I mine out this Abyssalite, then the cold from here. I mean, it's not that cold. It's 35 degrees, but this is 40 degrees. So I think in a lot of cases the heat doesn't actually have a source. This thing is producing heat. I think this is a heat source. I may be wrong. It might just be hot. I don't know how. I don't know whether it equalizes and does heat. So I know. Sorry, the steam it emits is hot and therefore increases the ambient, the average temperature. I don't know whether this vent itself is a constant increase in temperature. This zone, I think it just is hot, and because it was sealed in by Abyssalite, it remained hot. But I don't think there's anything in there that's making it hot or anything like that. Right, what am I doing? I came here to get iron, didn't I? So I should probably focus on that. Do I want to leave that vein intact? I can't. I'm not sure. What difference would that make? I don't know. What was I mining out here? Igneous rock. So you can make stuff. I'm kind of in two minds about whether this is good or not. You can make stuff out of any appropriate material. Their choices of materials in some cases are bizarre. Like you make pipe. You make gas pipes out of rock. I guess I can see that making sense. You make wires out of ore, not out of metal. So you don't make them out of copper, you make them out of copper ore. That's bizarre. I mean, maybe they've got like a magic device that extracts the copper from the copper ore and just makes the wire, because they've got these little guns that they're using to assemble things, which are obviously some kind of fabrication device. But in that case, then there's no such thing as unrefined copper, because their device is just extracted. If I demolish this wire, it will drop the copper ore back to the ground again, and it will still be copper ore, and it needs to go into a refinery to be refined. So that's just bizarre and nonsensical. The ladders are made out of rock. That's fine. That can make sense because there's no stone, there's no wood here. But then you can choose which kind of rock. So I've been trying to just use whichever one is locally available. Seems like a good philosophy. Oops. They're not going to be able to do all of that. Guess I need to build another ladder here. Is that right? No, hang on. I worked out that ladders need to be 4 wide. Not 4 wide, 4 apart. And if they're 4 apart, then they can mine. They can reach 2 from the ladder. I don't know, he's breathing. Must be a little bit of oxygen leaked in. So I really ought to be doing this with gas masks. Like, the way I'm doing it is crazy. But building a gas mask system would be an incredible faff. Because I'd have to route oxygen to it. Hang on, I don't think I've showed this display. Okay, you can show... Oh, that's useful! Oh, I didn't notice that one. Oh, that's great, okay. This is really bothering me, because my stuff is all made of random things. Like, a lot of my early base is made of sandstone, because that was the biome I was in. But as I've dug out, I've started to encounter other things, igneous and sedimentary rock and granite. I don't know why it distinguishes between igneous rock and granite. That seems like a weird clarification. Never mind. Right, so there is a view. That's unbelievably ugly. Oh, it shows the gases! Oh, that's incredibly useful. I didn't realise that mode existed. That's great. Because it's been kind of... in the default view, it's really pretty. But it is actually kind of hard to spot, like, Like the transition between chlorine and oxygen kind of looks like polluted oxygen. So there's carbon dioxide. Oh, that's so useful. I mean, it's ugly as hell. I can see why they don't put it in the default interface, but that's really, really useful. Okay, so I can see there is actually quite a lot of fluid oxygen floating around my base that I hadn't spotted. Oh, that's fine, doesn't matter. Anyway, sorry, where was I going? That's the light overview. It's very dark in my base. I should probably put some lights in. They don't seem to mind though. You can see the plumbing. I think I showed that before. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So you can see where my pumps are taking water out of my water supplies. Here up here, these plants specifically need polluted water as fertilizer, not clean water. So my polluted water source goes around here through the plant's background again, and then into this cleaner where it cleans them and then dumps it into my main water supply, which is currently full. So I think this whole system is backed up now because it's too full of water. But then there's also ventilation. So you can, a really nice thing is that, is this how SimCity worked? I think it's how SimCity worked. Wires, water plumbing, gas plumbing. Is there anything else? Can't remember. So there's at least one other thing. Are all on separate layers. So although you can only build one pipe, you can only build one water pipe on a tile, you can build the water pipe and the air pipe and the wiring all on the same tile, which is really helpful. Like, so Factorio specifically doesn't work like that. Like in Factorio, if you want to run one thing, you have to run, you know, different things on different tiles and lay them out in different places. Conveyor belts, that's the other one. I haven't really done very much with it. I think I might have built some here. No, that's not it. That's the control wiring. Here it is. No, that's not it either. God, where is it? Here it is. Conveyors. Of which, okay, I have one conveyor rail here. Oh, I should probably demolish that. There's a system I experimented with a little bit and then didn't figure out how to efficiently use, of like automated robot arms that pick things up and put them onto conveyor belts, and you can build those conveyor belts as well. Anyway, what was I showing? Yes, the ventilation system. You have to suck in oxygen and then send that oxygen through the system down to the gas masks or atmosphere suits to keep them constantly supplied with oxygen, which is extremely power and oxygen demanding. And I just don't have the resources to do anything about that. I probably do if I sat and sorted it out, but dear God. Right, where else am I going? I guess across here to get to this stuff. Oh. I need more igneous rock ladders. I find it really satisfying. There's a sort of implicit transition in this sort of game that I really like. It's not in a lot of strategy games, where this is just a mining cave. Like I'm digging in at higgledy-piggledy in order to mine. And so I'm just making a mess, and like, so you can see like this was an old mining cave, and this is an old mining cave. And then at some point I will want to expand into here and actually use the space for something. And I really like that. I think it's really neat that like I really enjoy that like transition. Guys doing? Oh God, where's that polluted oxygen coming from? Actually, no. Hang on. Oh, now I can see this. What is that? Did they just dig into a... They must have just dug into a cave full of polluted oxygen. Well, that's good. They can breathe it. That's fine. It makes them sad. Hang on. There's this guy. He's holding his breath. His eyes are being irritated by the chlorine. And his feet are wet. So he's kind of sad. Oh, how's the slime lung infection doing up here, actually? Let's have a look. Oh, it's not good. Oh, it's not good at all. Oh, everything's all infected. Where is that even coming from? I don't actually know where that's coming from. It probably isn't reproducing, but it might be. Oh well. Gonna have to sort that out at some point. Dig that out, and that out. Okay, we've got a huge vein of copper iron ore here. That's good. I'll tell you what I can do. I can build a storage bin here. This is a really clunky. So this is the kind of solution where like robot arms and conveyor belts would be super helpful. Should I try and do that? Yeah, let's try and do that. Oh god, hang on. How much power? God, this game. Right, okay, if I want to do that, then I need to build the conveyor network, which is probably going to use so much iron ore that it's counterproductive. Let's have a look. Conveyor rails take iron ore. Yep. Okay, so that's a starter because I'm trying to increase the amount of iron ore I have. So that's probably not a good idea. But anyway, hypothetically, I need to build a conveyor rail. Then I would need to build a robot arm that picks up the iron ore, but it only has a fairly limited range, so it wouldn't super work. No, okay, I could forget about the robot arm. I could build a receptacle. No, a loader. I could build a loader here. And then they could quickly put the iron ore into that. And then the iron ore would be taken by conveyor belt back to my base, so that they didn't have to manually cart it backwards and forwards. That sounds like a useful thing to do, except I just don't have the materials to do it. It's weirdly restricted how much ore you have. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or misusing my resources or something. There's a lot of gold, which I guess is just counterintuitive, but like I shouldn't, like I can't, I am annoyed about the way the game uses copper, like in a weird way, but it's not, it's absolutely fine that copper is just rare and gold is really common. That makes perfect sense, like, because it just happens to be the composition of this asteroid. But it is very odd. What am I digging through here? Yeah, still igneous rock. The material that you choose to make things out of does make a slight difference in some cases. You can see the stats here. Granite items are more attractive, so they have a higher decor value. Igneous rock and granite have a higher heat tolerance. I don't know what thermally reactive means. Presumably it does something when it's overheated. I don't know what though. Does obsidian do anything? I mean, obsidian is magma, isn't it? But it doesn't... I don't know what thermally reactive means. So let's build this ladder up here. Yeah, beautiful. I'm going to try and be a little bit selective with my mining because they are getting really tired and out of breath. Is that another sand biome there? Is that... Oh, so I believe the ore itself actually retains heat. So this iron ore, yeah, the iron ore, this is 40-degree iron ore because I mined it from a 40-degree iron block. So when they carry that iron ore back to the base and build something with it, that object will be hot. And therefore will slightly heat up the base around it. So actually mining from a hot region is probably a bad idea, actually, now that I think about it, but never mind. Is it consistently the case that these regions are hot and these regions are cool? Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, that's consistent as well, actually, because these pepper plants grow in hot environments. So yeah, so the slime environments are always under 30 degrees and the gaseous environments are always over 30 degrees. Sorry, over 40 degrees. Man, my base is so bad. Should probably mop that up. I have a load of reed fibers. I feel like I should probably do something with these reed fibers. I think I can make clothes out of them, but I don't know how. Is that a thing that I can do here? Farming station. Grooming station. Textile loom. Ah! What power does that need? Dull loom needs 240 watts of power. I don't want to put that on the main network. Ugh. Am I going to have to build its own transformer and everything? Oh no, I'll put it up here. Hang on. Oh, I don't need these incubators anymore anyway. I'll deconstruct these incubators and I'll just randomly put it up here. It's not very well thought through, but... So there is going to be a point where they just can't hold their breath long enough to usefully get very far into the facility. Sorry, into the room. Apparently, in an earlier version of the game, because I was reading about, like, so I was really cared about dealing with this polluted water, and that's been consuming all of my problems. In an earlier version of the game, disease and the like, and I don't know, I assume like gas and stuff, were significantly more dangerous, and therefore you had to be a lot more careful. I assume therefore that they nerfed them because people were finding it too frustrating. But the problem is, it means now a lot of the mechanics kind of don't matter. Like when an expert player says, well, you ask a player like, what do I do about, you know, I don't want to get this problem. I don't have this problem, and the expert player says, just don't worry about it. It's not that important. Just ignore it. Like wash your hands. It's fine. Like put a sink. Like you're going into a heavily contaminated alien bacteria area. That's fine. Just put a sink on the way out because it won't affect them. And here again, like there's no. I guess there is kind of a time limit because I am gradually consuming finite resources, but it doesn't feel worth the faff of setting up a complicated environment system to allow them. Oh hey, Zamami 60, are you an Oxygen Not Included player? You asked, do I want tips? Usually not. I mean, I have had to Google quite a lot for this game, a very unusual amount, because I found so many of the mechanics to be fairly unintuitive. But usually, I would prefer not to be told what to do unless I specifically ask. There are times when I'm just like banging my head against something, and it's like, well, I'd rather have advice than quit, you know. How many hours have I got now? You've got 150. I've now got, actually, probably doesn't count because I left it running. I've got 60 hours now, apparently. Although I don't think I've actually played for all of those 60 hours. Oh yeah, what was I going to do? I was going to set this to be iron ore. So if I tell them I want iron ore in this box and also give it a priority of 7, then they will prioritize reasonably hard putting stuff in the box. I think so. I've never seen them activate on a 5. I guess because no, I have actually. No, that's not true. If I set the priority to 5, then when there's nothing else to do, rather than going idle, they will find stuff and put it in the box. Looks like I might need another one. Okay, that's good. But now, specifically, it's now higher priority than digging out. But that's good, because that means that I can actually start making stuff out of this iron ore. I love that they're just breathing polluted oxygen in order to... Oh, yeah, you know what we should do? Oh, this is the best plan. We just need to open that. There we go. Perfect. It's the absolute best plan. And then all the polluted oxygen in here will come up into this cave and we can breathe it. That's a pro play. Oh, it's got slime lung in it as well. Oh, look at that. Hang on. It's got hardly any slime lung. 100 units of slime lung. Not even enough to show up on the germ overlay. Oh yeah, that's the very first thing I was saying. I'm really impressed with the germ model because they spread in different ways. So polluted, what's it called? Food poisoning, which I'm assuming is like staph. Staph? Am I saying that right? I think so. It spreads in water, polluted water. No, sorry, it spreads in polluted water, regular water, and polluted air. and polluted water emits polluted air, and it gets on people, and then they spread it to everything they touch. But unless they spread it to food and then eat that food, it doesn't negatively impact them, which is really nice. So like you're covered in germs, and you can see on the germ display sometimes like they just run around covered in germs, and then they touch things and spread it onto them, which is really cool. Like the toilet's covered in germs. But it doesn't actually affect them until they eat it. So that's quite. I think that's genuinely quite impressive. I've never seen a like a germ model that sophisticated. There's a lot of stuff where it's just like, you know, the food is poisoned, or like if you touch this disease water, if you go in the disease water, you get a disease debuff or something. That's quite common. But to have to get the disease on you, then prepare food and impart the disease debuff to the food, then eat the food, I think is really sophisticated. And then by comparison, slime lung works completely differently. So all this natural slime, I have seen slime that's not infected with slime lung. Oh, now I realise, yes, now I realise why. Okay, this slime over here is not infected with slime lung because it's been frozen. Because so I've never like, this is as far as I got. There's a cold biome here, and there's no abyssalite barrier, so the cold is spreading out here. You can see on the temperature display, it's now really cold in this slime biome, and that's killed all the slime lung. That's really cool. So slime lung dies when the temperature gets too low or too high. That must be, yeah. So over here it's fine because it's 27 degrees, but over here it's died. The slime is okay, but the slime lung that was growing on the slime has died. So slime lung in slime, so this slime is infected with slime lung. Okay, this looks terrible because I've made a horrible, horrible mess of it. But actually, it shouldn't be spreading. Hang on, have I got another? Oh God, what am I doing? It shouldn't be spreading. Have I got an example? Yeah, over here. This is all infected with slime lung, but it's not really spreading. It only spreads into polluted oxygen. So if there's polluted oxygen nearby, it spreads into it. It doesn't spread into polluted water, although polluted water does create polluted oxygen. And also, I think slime blocks don't emit slime lung, but if you mine them and they fall down and turn into these little balls of so there aren't any because I told my people to pick them all up and put them in here. But if there was a little ball of mined slime, then it would emit slime lung, which must have been what happened up here, and I don't know how it's happened. Anyway, so slime lung is safe to touch and safe to eat, but if you breathe it in, then it affects you. So it's kind of the opposite of food poisoning. It's like it's only dangerous when it's in air, so you can handle it perfectly safely, and if you get contaminated with it and wipe it all over everything, that's fine too. And the fact that it can only spread into polluted oxygen means that if you keep your base relatively hygienic and don't have it full of polluted oxygen like I have, because all these, which one's polluted oxygen? Can't remember. One of these is. Yeah, these dark ones here, polluted oxygen, is just randomly floating around my base. So that could get infected with slime lung, and then they breathe it in and get the disease. I don't know. That's really impressive. It really impresses me how like not only did they model a really complicated germ model, but they also modeled multiple complicated germ models to have two different diseases that work in different ways. I think that's really impressive. Well, at least my people are... Oh, I've got printables again. Alright, let's see what junk it's going to give me this time. Some hatchling eggs. Sure, I guess. Why are there just random balm lily flowers in here? Okay, they must have been there when I dug it out. What's happened? Right, he is not in the right place. There must be some extremely complicated system I can set up to make sure that these get wrangled into the right enclosure. So my stone hatches appear to have all died, and I'm not giving birth to any more for some reason. I don't know why. I guess I'm not feeding them the right diet. But that's okay, because I don't want them anymore. Because the only purpose of those was to transition into these, which I also don't want to feed anymore, which is why I'm starving them to death. Are they hungry? Yeah, they're all going to die. That's okay, we can eat them. Maybe I should have like one and feed one. So Mummy said food expiring is also really interesting to look at. So like, yeah, like food is kept in the refrigerator and then eventually it dies. Like eventually it goes off even though it's in the refrigerator. That one I have seen in other games. That's a fairly common mechanic. I mean, yeah, like I guess because it has this weird rule that where if the refrigerator is underwater, it doesn't expire. Oh, that was another mod I installed. This is what you're supposed to do. I don't know whether this is what the developers intended or whether it's just an emergent mechanic the players discovered. So the game has this weird rule where sealed storage is affected by the environment or liquid around it. So if you put a solid, so in the case slime balls emit slime lung. If you put them in a storage bin, they still emit slime lung. So you have to put them in a storage bin that's underwater, and then the liquid blocks the release of the gas. I guess that's just how their physics model works. The gas can't be created because the bottom square of the storage bin is the one that counts, and because the bottom square is completely submerged, it can't emit gas. The same principle works in other places as well. Like this polluted water isn't emitting polluted oxygen because the room is full of oxygen. There's a little bit up there. Yeah, okay, so there's like 1 square of carbon dioxide and 1 square of polluted oxygen. But because the room's full of oxygen, it won't emit. So you can build like a safe storage. And just like with the airlock example, this is just ridiculous to me. Like, this is just, I don't... there are people who kind of love that they've kind of broken the simulation and they've found a creative solution to a problem, and that's what they find appealing. And for me, that's really off-putting, and I don't like. I'd rather not play the game than do stuff like this. So I installed a mod that just I'd rather have a more complex mod. Again, the mod that I wanted was broken, so I used a less complex one. It just makes storage bins not emit. I'd rather have a mod that like gives you a storage bin that requires a more expensive material that doesn't emit or something like that, so that there's at least a feeling of paying a cost for that benefit. It makes sense to me that there might be like a leaky bin and a non-leaky bin, and you have to use a non-leaky bin to store dangerous materials. So you just have to pay attention and use the correct tools. That appeals to me conceptually. But immersing my storage, the storage bins are either waterproof or they're not. And if they're not waterproof, then submerging them in water doesn't make any sense. And if they are waterproof, then they shouldn't be emitting dangerous toxins. So, I mean, I guess in theory you could have one that's waterproof but not airproof. But yeah, if I can build one, this is a game all about building things that are airproof. It's bizarre that we can't build an airproof storage bin. Someone said you can completely avoid food spoiling if you're careful. Yeah, is that like you get the storage and you put your fridge in carbon dioxide or something like that, I think, and then none of your food ever goes off. That's kind of cool. Like, it's kind of cool. I guess you could have like a sealed carbon dioxide room at the back of the kitchen, and then, but then the default airlocks would just let all the carbon dioxide out every time they went in to get some. So you'd have to build it way at the bottom of the base, and then they'd go down to get it. I guess you'd have long-term food storage, so you're just constantly stocking up food. But it's okay. I'm just not making very much food because my plants are dying in the heat, so it's fine. Don't need to worry about food storage. This is our default meal. These things grow, and then when they bloom, they don't bloom into flowers, they bloom into disgusting lice, which they then come and eat. And you can cook them, but cooking them appears to be a noob trap. It consumes more resources and it's not worth it. You might as well just eat them raw. So, yuck. How am I doing up here for... Oh, I'm doing pretty well for iron ore, actually. What am I going to do? This might actually be too far for them to reasonably reach without oxygen. I'm not sure. Oh, all this polluted oxygen is going to shoot up into here, and all this... Oh no, hang on, no. Hydrogen's lighter than polluted oxygen. So we're just going to get a bunch of chlorine. Does that mean the chlorine is going to... Ah, yeah, the chlorine's going to fall down to here. Oh, that doesn't help, though, does it? Doesn't actually accomplish anything. What happened to that glossy Draco? Did I catch it in the end? It didn't seem to be there. Maybe he died of old age and I just didn't notice. There was a glossy Draco down here somewhere. Oh, they're going all the way down here. No. Oh, there's some sort of crab creature I haven't really interacted with yet. I don't know what these things do. They eat polluted dirt and they excrete sand. If I need sand, then I have lots of polluted dirt, but I don't really. He's going. Oh God, he's going all the way down there to pick up 1 unit of iron ore, so he can put it in this iron ore bin. I mean, that is what I told him to do. Let's build another one. There we go. What was I trying to accomplish? I wanted iron ore. Right, good. Okay, I now have 20 tons of iron ore. Okay, good. That was good. That was productive. What can I do with my 20 tons of iron ore? Is there no more iron? There's a tiny bit of iron up here, but only a tiny bit. Oh, what's this? Oh, there's loads of iron up here. Oh God, it's in the slime lung, isn't it? Shitload of hydrogen as well. I should probably try and finish dealing with this bizarre situation here. How am I going to deal with all this slime lung? I don't understand where all this slime lung contamination came from. And I'm assuming it's gradually dying in the hydrogen, but I don't actually know that. I guess there's polluted water up here, which I should probably clean out, shouldn't I? Okay, let's do that then. This is probably not a good idea. Why did that not work? It's probably not a good idea to have. Oh, this is unreachable apparently. Oh yeah, oops. Deconstruct that. This was all full of water, and I drained it all down, and that's where all the water in this tank came from. It's also extremely warm. The temperature doesn't seem to distribute around the water very quickly. Interestingly, I would have thought temperature would. So I would have thought liquids would equalise in temperature very quickly, but they don't seem to. This corner of the water tank is 25 degrees and this corner is 32 degrees because this water is like all quite warm because it came from up here where it was being heated by this steam vent, and then I pumped it round the system. I pumped it through here specifically where it got warmed up even more by this warm water, and then came back and came through here and dropped down into here, which is why this corner of the water tank is hot. But that happened like 20 days ago or something, and I would have thought it would have equalised by now, but it seems to have not done. Good job, guy. Well done. This is so inefficient. This is absolutely not the correct way to do this. I don't know what the correct way to do it is. That was another feature I really liked in Factorio, because Factorio is all about like mass producing like big systems that allow you to parallelize production of a huge number of things at the same time. Like it works really nicely in that regard. That you start out by like digging some ore manually, and then you build a machine to dig the ore for you, and then you carry the ore from place to place. You build your smelting machine. You manually mine some coal. You manually mine some coal. You manually mine some iron. You build a smelting machine out of the iron that you just made. That's a slight break there. You can build one out of raw ore, but whatever. Game wouldn't work otherwise. You build a smelting machine. You smelt some iron bars. You use the iron bars to make some machines that allow you to mine automatically, conveyor belt automatically to the refinery to produce, so you can then leave it producing ore, so you can go off and do something else. Is great. Well, I can't remember why I said that now. Anyway, yeah, I really like that about Factorio. Haven't really felt the same way about this game. Everything has required incredibly minute. Like, it would be such hard work to set up systems to do it automatically. Yes, that was the thought I had. That, like, this doesn't... Like, spot cleaning that little area didn't really feel like the right way to do that. But the right way to do it would be so complicated. By comparison, it would be so time-consuming that it didn't... I don't think it would be worth doing the... What's going on here? Polluted dirt. Oh, the polluted dirt is producing. Oh, because I just... No, I still have a compost heap. Oh, I disabled my compost heap. So there's this polluted dirt hanging around. Is that what I should have been dealing with? I'm still not clear where all this slime lung is coming from. I'm sorry, it must have come from a piece of slime. But I don't understand how it's spread out so much, and I don't understand why it's not dying. Someone says, if you like Victoria, you could look into Dyson Sphere program if you haven't. Yes, I was interested in Dyson. I have Satisfactory I was going to play, and then I randomly started playing this instead because I was planning to stream Satisfactory. So I started playing this over Christmas when I wasn't streaming. I'm just still playing it, even though it's tremendously frustrating. I thought Dyson Sphere program was still in open access, but then I guess Satisfactory is as well. Satisfactory looked a little bit more like what I wanted, because it was I playing Subnautica. So my friend put me onto Factorio because I was really disappointed that Subnautica, which I otherwise really liked, didn't develop its sort of crafting system over time. It just sort of it starts out simple and then it kind of caps out fairly early, and there isn't really anything more to it. And he said, "Oh, you'd like Factorio, which has a similar sort of premise, but you just gradually..." Sorry, Factorio and Subnautica are nothing like each other, but they have a similar sort of... You start on an alien world with very simple crafting tools, and then Subnautica is about exploration, whereas Factorio is about building larger and larger, resource exploitation factories, which is the exact thing I wanted to do in Subnautica. So yeah, that's why. So Satisfactory seems closer to what I wanted, whereas I think Dyson Sphere program is more of a management sim than an exploration factory game, but I may be mistaken. But yeah, it's also on my list, definitely. I've got so many of these pinch pepper things, but I don't even know what to do with them. I've got 50 kilograms of pinch of pepper nuts, but I don't think I can cook them into any meals I'm capable of producing. You guys managed to finish cleaning up here? Too much liquid? What? Goodness me. Okay, well let's mine out that and that then. This is, again, like, I should probably carefully mop up this liquid by doing something. Instead, if I just dig this out, it'll go splat everywhere, and then I can mop it up. There we go. That again does not feel like the correct solution. Oh yeah, that was the comparison I was going to make with Factorio. Is like, so there are times in sort of the mid game in Factorio where you've got used to parallelization and you've got used to like mass production of large quantities of materials, but you just need like one or two of something, like I could mass produce this type of computer chip, but I'm trying to build a power armor suit and I need 3 computer chips to build my power armor suit. So then rather than like setting up a whole microchip factory, which you will need later in the game, you instead just build a factory and load into it enough materials to make 3 microchips by hand, and then just hand create, basically. Sorry, you have to do it in the factory, but you can hand load the factory and then hand remove the finished materials in the factory. And it's really nice to have that option. I'm really glad that Factorio doesn't lock you into only doing things in an automatic way. And this kind of feels like that, where like, I'm sure there's some sophisticated, like, why do you not do that one? Oh, okay, because you've come to do it. I guess she must have assigned herself that task from all the way over the other side of the base, and then that guy didn't do it on the way past. Good. Okay, well, there we go. Is that going to... I mean, that's not going to clean up the slime lung straight away, is it? But hopefully it will help a bit. I don't know. Oh, what's this? Iron ore. Okay. How am I doing for iron? I've got 15 tons of iron. That seems like plenty to me. Is this stuff unreachable? No. Wait, hang on. It's really inconvenient to get to, though. Okay, I need to start building more. Okay, now I have iron ore. Yes, that's why I needed iron ore, so I can build more of these fire poles. It would probably... So this is... I've set up this atmosuit dock to explore this area, but if I want to get to here, it would actually be much quicker to come out this side of the base. I don't think that's worth changing. Okay, so what I want to do is dig all the way down straight through here. I don't have anyone with the demolition skill. Okay, we haven't looked at this interface before. This is a neat system. I like it. It's weird, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just slightly confusing to work with, but it doesn't lead you to make any bad game decisions or anything. So your guys rank up in their skills, Oh, well, no, sorry, actually, there is one thing you can do wrong, which is just have the wrong people. But setting that aside, which is an entirely separate problem, you rank them up, but then the higher their skill rank total, the more they are in their morale. And this is a really neat. I can't remember anything quite like this. It's the equivalent of like there's quite a lot of systems where like you have a team, like a Blood Bowl works like this. You know, like your team have more XP, and so they have higher pay requirements. Um, so like basically more skilled people are not just better; they're also more expensive. This game's version of that is that they have a morale. So this guy's morale is 18, and here it shows a breakdown of why his morale is 18. I think it's calculated every day or something like that. So it's not like morale isn't like a stat; it's like a sum. So in the last day, he ate a good meal. The three from interesting skills is he loves science, so he's happy because he learned the science skills. He also loves being a doctor, so he would be happy if I bought him this skill. Um, and then also like just miscellaneous bonuses from other things that are going on in his life. He spent most of his time in ugly places, so if I kept him restricted to a more attractive area of the base, he'd have a morale bonus for that. But you can see he's getting a huge bonus just basically from eating good food. Um, and then the sum total of his, I think, because the skills are like 1, 2, 3, 4 in rank. I think the sum total of the ranks of the skills, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's right, is his total morale need. And if the total of skills that he's learned exceeds his morale for that day, he gets stressed out. And if his stress gets too high, something bad happens. So basically, like, you don't. So and that works really nicely. It captures some of what I was saying about earlier in Dwarf Fortress, whereas your base gets better, you get more demanding people in your base who require demanding things. What it means is that early in the game, when your characters have hardly got any skills, they're not fussy. They eat really crappy food. They live in a shithole. They just like everything makes them miserable all the time. So their morale is extremely low. But that's okay because they only have 1 or 2 skill points, so they don't need high morale. And then as you get towards the end of the game, and I'm assuming I'm going to need this stuff eventually, like I'll need to do astronomy to do something that I haven't unlocked yet, and I'll have these really specialized people who are really good at doing certain things. Their morale needs will be extremely high, which means I need a very well-designed base that's well laid out, that doesn't have ugly wiring running through their bedroom, so that their morale will stay high so they won't become stressed out. And I think I'm really impressed with that. It's a really well thought through system because it means that and also there is a device I can build fairly early on which allows me to reset their um, skill points. So if I accidentally do it wrong, that's where I said it doesn't lead you to making bad decisions, because if I do, so I didn't understand how the system works. So this guy bought, as you can see, he's got 7 free skill points here. I could buy loads of skills and pump his morale need up crazy high, and then he would just be sad all the time. So I reset his skills and then spent them much more carefully. So the fact that it allowed me to do that allowed me to explore this system without being penalised by it, which is great. What's this hat? Didn't notice this. What? Field research hat? Is this just a... Oh, is this just to identify what kind of guy he is so I can easily spot him running around? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. That's neat. Ashcan wants a mechatronics engineering hat. Oh, that's neat. Okay, that's really cool. I mean, I'm assuming it's just visual. Critter Ranching 2. Oh, okay, Critter Ranching. So I can kind of see what kind of person they are. Oh, that's really neat. That's this guy. This guy's a digger, isn't he? Is there a digger? Super hard digging. Gossman is a tidier, I think. Yeah, carrier and tidier. Plumbing. Hassan. What's Hassan? Hassan is an artist. Knows aesthetic design. Marie is also a digger. Super hard digging. And Travaldo is a mechatronics engineer. Wait, is Ashcan... They're both... Oh, okay, Ashcan's also a constructor. Okay, why did I come in here in the first place? I can't remember. I opened this for a reason. I needed a specific skill, didn't I? What was it? I can't remember. Oh, it was demolition. Right, yeah. Who knows demolition? Right, okay, so I can get... So Ashcan's... That would push Ashcan to a very high morale need. And he's not even using his mechatronics engineer. Well, okay, I'll learn it for now. But he might need to unlearn it later. Do I know anyone else with construction? Yes, I do. Frankie. Oh, Frankie also knows loads of skills. That's not good. Yeah, okay, I'll get Ashcan to learn it, but it's possible that he won't be able to sustain 15 morale. I'd be surprised if he could. So I might have to retrain him and not learn mechatronics engineering and give it to this other guy instead. Can he wear a demolition hat? Yes, he can. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Right, where am I going? Demolish all this crap. You gonna come and blow this up? Nope. Of course you went all the way around. God damn it. So I should... There's AI, dear God. That's the AI mod I installed. So on her way back, because she was going back anyway, she grabbed some iron ore to take with her. That's great. I think that's the mod that I installed. I don't think that's the game's default behavior. I could be wrong. Let's deconstruct that. So this is like a weird bit of ruins that I discovered here. This is some brain machine. It taught one of my people taught them how to regenerate, I think. So Mummy said they will brick themselves into death if you're not careful. Yes, I've had that happen quite a lot. It's very frustrating. The only people I've lost is where their stupid AI has caused them to... My favourite one was the guy who sealed his head inside the ceiling. I don't know how he even managed it. I do not want a pip egg, I don't think, because I don't want pips wandering around. I had to Google what they were to find out what I was getting. I guess I could have eaten it, couldn't I? Oh well. Critter starvation. Oh, I don't know what to do with these guys. I feel like I might need more refined iron. And I probably don't want all my smooth hatches to die if I do want more refined iron. Maybe I'll let some of them die and then feed them. The amount of times I lost a dupe and discovered them in a small hole 3 days after. Yeah. I killed someone off. I killed off 2 people, so I had a guy with flatulence, which it turned out was the absolute worst thing in the world. This was supposed to be a vacuum chamber, which I've spent ages trying to make into a chlorine decontamination chamber. Terrible plan. It just doesn't work. Well, sorry, it does work, but you have to do all kinds of fiddly, unintuitive things, so that's why I built this. This is what I was doing when I started today, rebuilding this ridiculous irrigation system, because that got rid of all my polluted water straight away, so it turns out I should have done that the whole time. And then, so I sucked all of the gas out of it, and then my guy with flatulence just walked in and farted in it, and filled the whole thing up with natural gas. So he had to die. So I sealed him in the sump, and it took him... I sealed him in the sump because he kept wetting himself. And it took him 5 days to finally die of hunger because there was so much polluted oxygen that he just kept breathing. So he had an absolutely miserable 5 days and then eventually died. And then I had someone else who had narcolepsy, so she kept falling asleep in places where she couldn't breathe. So I just sealed her in here, and then she died in about 10 seconds because there was no air except the natural gas. So that was a lot faster. So yeah, it turns out if you want to kill somebody, it's far quicker to suffocate them than to wait for them to starve to death. What am I doing? I can't remember. Oh yeah, I was building a pole, wasn't it? Well, there was a wiring there. Weird. Copper wiring. There's copper wiring here as well. Wait, which one am I told to deconstruct? Oh, there we go. I kind of imagined that maybe I might leave these ruins here, but nah. There's something in here, and I don't really know what it is. It's some kind of creature. I don't recognise it. Oh, it's a fish, isn't it? Is that one of those goldfish things? What, one of... Where are they? One of these things. It kind of looks like one of those. Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's not dangerous, is it? The line of sight rules are very odd. So I need to deconstruct that. and that, and that, and that, and that, so that I can just bore straight through on my highway to the oil. And I guess I need to go across... Oh, it doesn't actually make any difference if I build multiple poles, does it? Oh. Right, well, I guess that water is polluting that salt water. That's fine, no problem. Sure. Oh god, how am I gonna... This doesn't seem like the right way to do this, does it? Oh, I'm glad they're using the atmosphere seeds, that's good. In their little hats. What are they doing? Are they just collecting all the iron? Oh yeah, of course they are. That's what I told them to do. How am I gonna... Right, where am I gonna get all this water to? Because if I keep digging down there, I'm going to go through this water and this channel is going to fill with water and I don't really want that. Oh no, it's fine because it'll just fall off in here. No, that's fine. Oh, will they? Oh, they won't get soggy feet if they're running around in atmo suits. So it's not too much of a problem. But even so, I'd rather this water go somewhere else. So I could dig out this. But I guess I probably need to dig out this. There we go. Why is there a bubble of... Oh, there's a bubble of salt water that can't move because the liquid model. There's water on either side of it, and this water is there's too little water here to flow. I mean, I'm not going to complain about that because it's such a sophisticated system. It's got these weird idiosyncrasies, and that's totally fair enough. It is kind of annoying when this happens, though. It does weird things when liquids mix. Feels like in the case of something like salt water, they could have used their germ system to track how much salt is in the water. And then when water and salt water mix, it just averages the concentration. That seems like something they could have done fairly straightforwardly. Since I think they already have all the systems in... Like if they didn't have the germ system, that would be an insane suggestion. It wouldn't make any sense. That would be really, really hard work. But they already have a system that does almost exactly everything they need. They could have just used it. If I dig... I just don't want to... What I don't want is for the floor to just be soggy everywhere. I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything about it, though, am I? Oops. Why are they not finished building that? This is granite? Yeah. Let's make a granite ladder. I wonder what... I don't know... there was a glossy Draco around here. I was going to wrangle it, but I don't know what happened to it. It just disappeared. I said it's a wrangle, and I went away to talk about Draco habitats, and I came back, and it just wasn't there anymore. Oh, I was going to build a... Yes, I remember. I was going to build a... What's it called? A textile loom. Should probably clear up these wires. Power wire. Wait, what did I make that out of? Iron. Yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, what's going on down here? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess if they're on atmo suits anyway, the water's not really doing anything, is it? It doesn't really matter. I feel like I probably could have done that in such a way that I didn't get everything covered in water. Oh yes, I should have mined out this side first, then the water would have drained down into here. Oh well, never mind. If that was contaminated water that just broke everything, I would probably have to load there, but yeah, so it's fine. Can I just mop this up now? I think so. That's probably going to keep leaking from here though, isn't it? It does this weird thing. Again, I'm not going to complain about the model, it's not fair because it's very sophisticated, but it does this. It behaves weirdly in single channel passages rather than forming as it's trying to simulate that thing that water does where the surface tension causes it to cling slightly, but it does it across a meter, whereas water only does that about across like 2 millimeters or something. It doesn't really make any sense. How am I gonna I guess I could just leave it alone. How much water have I got there? 200 kilograms. Let's just mop that up. There's specks of polluted water. It's intriguing what the world generation has done. I've never been in here. This is a completely sealed biome. Oh, actually no, this is the same biome I'm in, but I've never been down here. But there's just like, what is that? Is that a speck of? Yeah, there's a speck of polluted dirt here, which I guess it spawned here, or maybe there was some animal living in here and it created this polluted dirt, and then it's created a tiny dot of polluted water. It's neat that the world generation is so sophisticated that that matters. Right, how am I doing? Okay, we are good to go. Does tile speed up movement speed? Yes, it does. Okay, so I want to... What's the rock here? Sedimentary. Sedimentary or granite. Does it make any difference? Don't think it does. Oh, granite's slightly nicer, isn't it? Yeah, alright, let's just use granite. So we're going to make a granite floor. Pump. Okay. And that way we can sprint super fast across the floor. I may be worrying about completely the wrong problem here. But my assumption is that if I get down to... that I need... if I'm going to do anything with this oil, I have to do it quickly. So if I build a super fast transportation system to get from place to place, then that'll help. Everyone's gone to sleep. Smooth hatches are dying, and that's okay because I can cook them. I've built the poles the other way around to the way around they're in my base. I did it on purpose because I thought the return journey would probably be the difficult part, but even so, that's kind of annoying. When you do something like that, it just displaces the water above, which is fair enough. Oh, good grief, look. Oh no, no, where's it going? Oh no. Oh, it's making a mess. It's making such a mess. I like this. I don't know if this is by chance or was designed this way on purpose. There's a door leading into this useless room, but then it's flooded, so I'd have to drain the water out or like cut the water away to be able to get to the door. I think that's really nice. She didn't make it back to her bed. That feels like something she probably should have anticipated how long she needed to go before she fell asleep. That doesn't... I mean, it's kind of fun that it happened, but it doesn't feel like something that should have happened. That she was able to spend so long out of... What am I trying to say? Like, it feels like they should head back in time to be able to get home. I guess maybe something changed. Maybe some environmental factor changed so that her planning misfired or something, I don't know. A bit odd. That's my hydrogen generator doing? Oh, is he picking up iron? Wait, was there iron here? I didn't think there was iron here. I want to go to bed, really. It's quite late here. I'll finish building this transportation network and then I'll try and figure out how to mine oil tomorrow. Nighttime again. Oh! Days go past incredibly fast once you start speeding things up. Some sort of tree, acorn tree. Tree acorn? Tree acorn. Right, what's the correct way to do this? I guess come down here. I built random things following the oxygen pockets when I came here the first time, but now I'm kind of dodging water. I ought to go to bed, that's what I ought to do. No, I'm gonna go now, I think. Yep. Alright, I'm gonna I'll leave it there. Thanks everybody. I will commit myself again and fail again to try to stream on a more regular day. That's my plan. Never seems to work. But we'll see if this year is any different to last year. Otherwise, good night.